Good morning, everybody. I'm just getting myself set up here. This is Sis Ahern, life coach, and I am having our Let's Just Talk About It conference. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. It is finally sunny in Southern Washington. Birds are singing. It's a beautiful day. So our talk today is about the power of presence, embracing the moment. What does that mean? It means being in stillness. Um, You'll see my cat over here. She's being weird because she's not getting a lot of attention. Anyway, I started looking up my favorite people who talked about presence. And by definition, excuse me. Sorry about that. She can be a bad girl when she wants her attention. And she's had a lot of attention this morning. But anyway, her name is Sweet Pea. Anyway, I looked for people that I really admired and that had moved me when I was learning about presence. And one of them is Eckhart Tolle. And his statement was, presence is a state of being that is always accessible to us. So no matter what's going on around us, presence is available to us. Stillness is available to us. Mindfulness is available to us. There's so many names for it. Consciousness is available to us. Muji, who I did my meditation this morning with, he says there is a presence, a silence, a stillness, which is here by itself. So if you've listened to either one of those people, there will be moments when we stop. And we're just present with what's going on around us, birds, sound, beauty. It's in the moment. It's just the moment. Michael Bernard Beckwith says the presence, which is never an absence, is always radiating in essence everywhere. I love that because it's basically presence is the now moment. It's the now moment. So it's always here. Everything around us is now. It's not the future. It's not the past. It's right now. So it's important to, excuse me, to be present and to learn to be present with as much chaos that's going on in the world. We just need to find a peaceful place to be anytime we want. So being present or practicing mindfulness holds significant importance of mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. So what being present means to me and what I'm trying to share with you is that when you're feeling chaotic or you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling like you just can't handle anything else or you're feeling you can't go on, I want you to just stop for a minute, consciously take a breath, be aware of how that feels in you, and slow down. Even 10 seconds is presence. Slow the mind down. Practice being in the moment you are in. So instead of picking up your phone, for instance, and you can do this with your phone with sound. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I really need to hear American Indian flute. I really sometimes Carlos Arnacaya, his flute speaks to me in a way that brings me so clearly to me. So there may be that you can do too, but just do it in a moment. Just practice doing it in a moment. Waking up in bed, what's the first thing you do? Some people put their glasses on, some people throw the covers off, some people turn to their partner. But when you wake up in the morning, your mind is the most receptive to it because it's clean, sort of from your sleeping. Just sit for just a moment and become aware of the space around you. Does your skin feel cool or warm? Does it smell like familiar smells in your room? Can you see out a window? Can you see life living itself outside? Or you can do it on your commute. People think they can't meditate or they can't get present. When you go into trance, you're meditating. So when you're driving, you're in trance. Ever been there and you're like, mine's going 1,000 minutes, but you're in trance. Anyway, excuse me. So when we stop reacting is when we become present and life changes. So I started to talk about fear as a barrier to presence, and that is true. Some of us have heard from Tony Robbins that fear is false evidence appearing real. And what that means is fear is not in the present moment. Fear is into the future or into the past. It's never in the present moment. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have fear about a bear that's right in front of you. But again, if you get present rather than think, I'm going to die, I'm going to be eaten, should I run, should I stand still, should I do all this, and you've got panic on your face and he smells that fear, you're going to be in trouble. But if in other moments, even in that moment, you get present, you will make the right decisions. You cannot make good decisions from fear, being in a fear place. Fear, I know that there's a lot of books that say fear is so great and wonderful, but and I would say that there is healthy fear, but does it serve anything? Does it serve anything? So fear is it is a barrier to presence. It keeps you from being present. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be late to work. That's a fear. And if you're thinking that, well, by God, you're right. But you're not in presence and you're not in stillness. So I encourage you to, when you're in fear of something, and we'll talk about worry in a minute, take a minute in that fear and turn inward for a second, just a second. Go, wait, is this fear truth? Am I really seeing this as I need to be seeing it? Just a sec, okay. So let's move on. I want to talk about the benefits of being present, and we've talked about a couple of them. I believe the more you practice it, the better you feel overall, and the less reactive you are to just about everything. I think my deepest, darkest fear, feeling, emotion that I move away from is rage. I even have my monkey called Stella. She's rage. And if I start feeling that rage, road rage is an example. I don't get it, but I literally don't get it because I see people doing it and I'm like, wow, what is that? What is that? So when I start to feel it, when I start feeling something that doesn't feel blessed and glorious and warm and comfortable in my body, I get right to my present self and say, what is going on? And usually has nothing to do with the moment I'm in. It has to do with my peace is being interrupted by a past thought or a past feeling or a future fear, never about what's happening in the moment. And when I do that, that sudden burst of emotion goes away. It doesn't have a purpose and it's not in the present. Being present really helps to gain inner peace and calm. And the more you practice present moments, stillness, the more and more your mind synapses it as where you want to be all the time. We also know that it enhances relationships and connections. I am connected to all of you because there is a presence in me that I have enough love to give everyone, to love everyone. And that's because there's so much presence. When I get present with love, oh, I just love people. I love loving people. I love babies. I love the feeling of holding a baby. And that is a moment of presence. Think about it. When you're holding a baby and it's quiet and loving in your arms, it's looking at you, it's curious, she, he, uh, you are so present. That's presence. You're not thinking, oh, I gotta go get the car washed. You're not thinking anything. You're right there. You're 100% present. So we all can do it. We all can do it. We all can be going along and see a mom and kittens and just stop and look at them and say, oh my God, that is so cute. Or a bird feeding its baby. Or nature has so many present moments. So if you're not having enough present moments, that's the first place to start, even in your backyard. I live someplace, this is a friend's house, where I have to really search for that nature movement connection, that connection to presence. So, it's a challenge for me sometimes, but I'm always finding it. I can be at work and after a busy day and I walk down the hall and I'm like, oh, I just love the people I work with. I'm just so grateful. And that's in the moment. I've just had this great experience. I'm feeling this love. It's in the moment. So it's easy to use it and to enhance your relationships and connections with it. So simple practices are 1-minute meditation practices. I would love to do one with you. Let me see if I can figure out if I got a timer here. Because I don't want to overdo it. Okay. Take a moment. Take a nice deep breath. Let's exhale first. Close your eyes. I want you to see the back of your eyelids, because that's what you're looking at. You close your eyes, you see the back of your eyelids. Take a deep breath and just follow my voice, and we'll say a little prayer together. Dear one, it can be God, the universe, Allah, Buddha. Dear one, thank you for this moment I am in right now, where I am complete and whole and loved. Amen. That's it. That's all it takes. It's that simple. So, what can we do when we're overthinking and ruminating something? This is the time I want to talk about worry. Set a time on it. So when I was younger, I used to work out a lot, like 3 to 5 times a week. And then if I wasn't working out, I was riding a bike or skiing, or I was what I consider to be athletic. And I would find myself at the gym worrying, chewing something up, chewing it up, chewing it up. And finally one day I looked at my watch and I said, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I'm giving this 5 more minutes. And I started practicing that all the time. I would find myself worrying, am I going to be late to work? Stop. 1 minute on that one. Can I control it? No. Get to work. And it really helped. And I used it throughout my life. I would time it. Okay, I can't, because, worry is an absolutely wasted energy. And it takes energy from your heart when you worry something, which puts pressure on your heart, which makes your life shorter. So limit your time to worry. Try it. Just try it. Next time you find yourself, ruminating or worrying or overthinking something, say, wait a minute, 5 more minutes, and then I'm not thinking about this for a while. And when you start to do that, what you're going to find is rather than reacting to things, you're going to start to respond or not. You may find it not worth your energy. And that's being detached. If you find yourself or others, sometimes you have to break into someone's pattern. If they're ranting and raving and ranting and raving, and pretty much you've heard the story before, what do? You detach and you communicate. You get present and you keep sending them the message, clearing the message. I hear you. What do you want to do about it? What's next? Because if you're stuck there, or if they're stuck there, it takes a reframe in order for them to get out of it sometimes. And sometimes people want to be so stuck in their story, they'll carry it with them a long, long time. We all know people like that. But what I want to know when I'm talking to them is, do you want that to change? Because if you do, there's some things you can do about it. So limit your time of worry and limit your time of listening to people that worry. And there are very kind ways to detach yourself from it and say, I hear what you're saying. I need to go. Back to the language thing and the power of words. I'm really sorry you feel that way. I need to go. So I started thinking about a time that I wanted to give you an example of when presence changes. So each and every one of us talks about, no, not everybody, but I think a lot of people do, about their childhood trauma. And you think back, I think back and I think everybody thinks, every parent that I've ever seen, and I'm not one, says or acts or feels that they're doing the best they can with the resources they have. And I believe that. Great kids come from parents who have great skills. I think the hard part for being a parent is that there's so much influence from the video screens everywhere. So I wanted to think of a time that I had revelations of presence. So one of them was that I grew up in the Virgin Islands for part of my life, and during those times were the most abuse that I remember, the most emotional, physical abuse that I can remember. And I felt alone, and it was kind of a burden I carried with me. It was a gap between me and my mother and my stepfather for our lives, really, until I went sailing in the Caribbean, and we sailed into this bay that I had gone to all the time when I was a kid. We used to take a boat over, drop anchor, jump overboard, swim into shore, meet our friends that we met the year before, and play all day on the beach or in the woods or wherever we were. Anyway, we go sailing into those bays, and I was just overwhelmed with gratitude. I thought, oh my gosh, I grew up in this. I had all these great moments. And yet the thing that I carried with me through my life was the bad moments. I wasn't even looking at the good moments and remembering the good moments. And there were so many of them. I mean, we had a blast when we were that age. I mean, the emotional abuse in the house was tough. But the minute we could let loose and go and explore and jump in the water and snorkel. And I was an instant swimmer my whole life. That changed everything about how I viewed my past. I swear, it was so monumental for me to say, oh my God, there were good times. There were some absolutely outstanding times. My Uncle Eddie, we used to sail into or take our boat into Honeymoon Bay on Water Island. And he would come down in his Jeep, he had a Willie, and pick us all up and take us up to the house. And they had a house on a cliff, which I went to see 2 years ago, which is gone because of hurricanes. But anyway, and Uncle Eddie would wear a red, shiny bathing suit, a red cape with a white fur thing, and a Santa hat. And he would barbecue our dinner. I mean, those are fantastic times, really fun and laughter. And I was an introvert, but I was still getting it. I was getting the joy and the fun that the folks had, and the exploration that we had. Going to those islands, and I went back again a couple of years ago to bring my mother's ashes there. I've in the years after she passed, I took her ashes to a couple of different places that I knew she loved. Anyway, it changed my concept or my feeling about that time. It was a beautiful time. I mean, there were some bad times for sure, but all that fun that we had, maybe it was made more fun by it was made more fun maybe by the fact that there was this undercurrent of abuse. I don't know. But I know now that my history with all of that is much, much more powerful than it was, much more positive, I should say. So the second story that I have to tell you, if you want to hear it, is how presence affects the normal stress of everyday life. So I just came back from Mexico. Right before the plane landed, I got a text on my phone about the next flight, the connecting flight, and I really didn't pay attention to it. So I get off the plane, and I looked at it. Actually, I looked up at one of the boards, and it said canceled. And I was like, wait a minute. And I pulled it back up, and I realized that's what it had said. It was canceled. And not only was it canceled, it was rescheduled. So I thought, okay, it's 11 o'clock. That's in 2 hours. I can do that, or whatever time it was. And I realized that it wasn't in 2 hours. It was in 48 hours. I had been rescheduled 2 days in advance. So in the past, I would have flipped out. I would have been raging upset. What am I going to do? Which most of us would do. What am I going to do? How am I going to? I heard people around me going, oh my God, we're going to have to spend $500 to get a room. The airplane or the airline should pay for it, and all this rage. And I just was like, I was so present. I don't know why. I was just like, okay, what do I do now? So I went to one of the airline desks and said, okay, so can I get my luggage? She said, I'm not sure, but here's where you go. So I went down and I talked to the people and I said, can I get my luggage? Because literally no warm clothes, nothing. So I went down and she said, we have 8,000 pieces of luggage waiting to go to Portland. Now, probably more to come. She said, you can't get it. You can't get it today. So I sat on the runner of where the luggage comes through, which wasn't running. And I just sat there for a while and I thought, what am I going to do? And then I started thinking, who do I know in Denver? And actually, I know a couple of people. And so I texted one of my friends and I said, Anna, this is Sis. I haven't seen you in a while, but I am stuck in Denver for 2 days. Can I come stay with you? And she was like, oh my God, yes, here's the code to the house. And she's telling me all this stuff. And then I thought, and then at the bottom, she says, I'm stuck in Winter Park. There was an avalanche on the pass. And I was like, oh, so here, instead of freaking out and crying and going to a hotel and being miserable, I'd become resourceful. I became resourceful. That's what happens when you're present. When you're present, all the things that you could do are available to you. You don't have tunnel vision. You have this 360 vision of the opportunities and resources available to you. So, to make the long story short, that was so much fun. Even though Anna didn't ever make it down, and the pass never opened, her husband was the host with the most. We went and ate delicious sushi. The second night, he made me an incredible Thai meal. It was just the most fun, and we just had fun. It was just like this fluke in nature that Portland was iced in, that I got to spend some time with someone who really was a wonderful human being, and I loved it. I had so much fun. He dropped me at the airport in the morning, and I flew to Portland, and lo and behold, it was pretty bad. I got to my car. I'm not lying to you. I had about that much ice surrounding the whole car in the parking lot at the hotel, just like this thick. I couldn't chip it. I chipped it enough to get the door open, turned on the car, high heat, and just stepped away for half an hour and let the heat of it at least melt the inside around and then I slowly but surely chipped it all away. Big chunks. It was the weirdest thing. I actually left a piece because I wanted people to see just how bad it was. And I drove very slowly home. So I got resourceful in this situation that in the past I would have had a meltdown in. And this is what I'm recommending is when you have presence, when you learn to be present in the moment and you practice it and you practice it, and pretty soon it becomes second nature to you to go, well, I wonder who I know in Denver. So that is it. So I want to just review our what we've talked about. We've talked about presence, the benefits of it, how to do it, call it stillness, consciousness. All of it's the same thing. How to do it. We did one. We got conscious for 1 minute. And I ask for you, my call to action for you is to commit to practicing presence daily. I don't ask you to meditate for, a while like I do. And I sometimes break it up. Sometimes I'll do a 15-minute, take a break, just come out of it, be awake and present, and then maybe take another 15 minutes or 5 or 10. Just depends on my mood. But I'm always doing it because I'm always growing. And that's just perpetually who I am. I am always growing. And being present makes that so much easier. I can open up to new ideas and concepts and not react to negativity or people can be mean. But it's not my stuff. It's them, and they're struggling with something that is not, I am not responsible for that. So I think that comes from being present. I love you dearly. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for being here.